like, millions of girls will grow up thinking that this is the right way to act.
I'm a narcissist.
Well, at least she was honest this time.
She comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Lots of people to thank for this video.
It was a magical time, and I'm a Disney princess, and it was just very magical.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
What the
What has been the reaction to Disney's latest expensive own goal?
Well, the reaction has been absolutely horrible. It is the worst box office from a Disney live action remake that they've ever done.
If you have any opinions, I don't want to hear them.
The second that Simpsons episode aired, it was like Hollywood got slapped across the face with a giant yellow cartoon glove. And honestly, it couldn't have happened to a more chaotic princess.
This isn't the chum bucket.
The parody wasn't just brutal, it was surgical. They didn't just roast Rachel Zegler, they practically slow-cooked her over an open flame. And guess what? Behind all the laughter, things at Disney weren't looking so magical.
They've put it all on her. Now they've failed. Here's what happened. She made the cardinal error of saying Free Palestine on Twitter. So she could say all that men are bad and it's this and that, but once you do that, now they've put the entire weight of the failure upon her.
According to insiders, who are probably clutching their Mickey Mouse mugs in fear, that one cartoon meltdown sent Disney's executives into a full-blown panic spiral. Allegedly, they were holding emergency meetings so fast you'd think the castle was on fire. The buzzwords flying around: brand erosion, audience trust crisis, and my personal favorite, narrative triage. That's when you know it's bad. When your brand needs a doctor.
She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Rumor has it, and let's sprinkle a little fairy dust on that word, rumor, that Disney even considered hitting the big red button, putting a hold on their entire live-action remake factory, until they could figure out why audiences weren't buying what they were selling anymore. Yup, one animated princess ranting about dismantling patriarchal narratives may have just body-slammed the entire Disney reboot industrial complex. Can you imagine being the poor intern at that meeting, taking notes while an executive screams about how a cartoon clown did more damage than a year's worth of bad box office? And honestly, it's not rocket science.
I can only make grilled cheese.
When The Simpsons, literal professional trolls with a 30-year track record, decide you're the joke, that's a cultural death sentence, sweetie. The audiences didn't just laugh, they agreed. And if Disney's magic starts feeling more like a TED Talk on why you're wrong for liking true love, Houston, we have a problem. So yeah, Rachel Zegler's little cartoon moment didn't just torch her PR image. It might have set off a chain reaction that could shake Disney's entire future. And trust me, that was just the first crack in the glass slipper. The truth is, Disney didn't trip over Rachel Zegler by accident. Oh no, this fairy tale disaster had been bubbling for months, long before Krusty the Clown got involved.
You know what? I can't wait to quit social media.
Please, do it.
If you rewind the tape, and you better believe the internet has receipts, you'll find the real trouble started the moment Disney decided to update Snow White for a new generation. And by update, I mean take a sweet, innocent love story about hope and dreams and turn it into a gritty TED Talk about why true love is oppressive. Because apparently, in 2025, finding happiness with your soulmate is problematic, Rachel was supposed to be Disney's fresh face, their Gen Z Cinderella moment. But somewhere between the press junkets and the podcast-ready sound bites, something went very, very wrong. Interviews started surfacing. Interviews where Rachel didn't just modernize Snow White, she kind of dragged her. She called the 1937 original weird, said the prince was basically a medieval stalker, and insisted that this version of Snow White wasn't dreaming about love. She was dreaming about leadership.
Destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie. So bad is it? So toxic is this poison apple?
Girl, what kind of LinkedIn fairy tale is this? At first, people were confused. Then they were mad. Then they were grabbing popcorn to watch the train wreck in real time. Because here's the thing, people love a good update, but they hate being lectured. And nothing screams lecture like telling families across America that the story they grew up loving is actually toxic trash. Who knew Prince Charming needed a background check and a management training seminar? Meanwhile, the TikTok edits practically made themselves. Rachel's soundbites got chopped up and stitched into brutal montages, faster than you could say, once upon a time. Fans weren't seeing a strong new princess. They were seeing a girl boss in a ball gown scolding them for liking romance. And every time Rachel doubled down with another spicy quote, it only fueled the fire. You could practically hear Disney's PR team collectively fainting into their mouse ears. So by the time Snow White even got close to theaters, the damage was done. No poisoned apple necessary. Rachel Zegler had already cursed the kingdom, one empowerment interview at a time. Let's talk about the episode that took the internet by the hair and dragged it, because Snow Woke, the reimagining, wasn't just a casual roast. It was a full-blown medieval festival, complete with a dunk tank labeled Rachel's public image. The Simpsons didn't tiptoe around the controversy. They cannonballed right into it wearing steel-toed boots and a neon sign that said, "No mercy." The parody princess? Yeah, she wasn't just a random jab at modern storytelling. She was Rachel Honey, right down to the snarky smiles and "I'm here to lead, not to love" speeches that made the entire internet collectively side-eye their screens.
That the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough if you are the biggest media company on earth to have that company turn against you. And Rachel Zegler, to this very waking hour, seems totally blissful, completely ignorant, and has zero self-awareness of the destruction that she has wrought.
In the first scene, she hijacks a press junket and starts monologuing about dismantling patriarchy, while the woodland creatures around her look like they're plotting a group therapy session. And when she deadpans to the camera, "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead." Baby, that wasn't a parody, that was practically a documentary. And then came the premiere scene. Picture it. Red carpet, flashing cameras, fireworks, and inside the theater, crickets. Literal crickets might have been louder. A single lonely dude claps once, mutters, "I miss the old princess," and pieces out like he just realized he wandered into the wrong movie. Savage doesn't even begin to cover it. But wait, there's more, because the Simpsons writers clearly packed an extra can of petty for the finale. The parody Rachel Z absolutely melts down on Krusty's Late Show, yelling at the audience for misunderstanding her genius, before wiping out and face-planting into a mountain of canceled fairy tale books. You could practically feel the second hand, embarrassment oozing through the screen. And let's be real, it hit so hard because it wasn't made up. The Simpsons didn't have to invent Rachel's PR disasters. They just had to repackage them with yellow skin and a laugh track. When parody mirrors reality a little too well, that's when it stops being funny and starts being fatal. Because in that moment, millions of viewers weren't watching a cartoon roast. They were watching a mirror. And in that mirror, Zegler wasn't holding the crown anymore. She was holding the receipt.
Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all.
When the credits rolled on that brutal Simpsons episode, you could almost hear the internet sharpening its claws. Reaction channels popped off. TikTok edits flooded the For You page like a digital tsunami. Twitter? Oh, girl. Twitter looked like it had been left unsupervised with a bottle of wine and a grudge. Everyone, everywhere, waited for the moment Zegler would pop back online and say something, anything. Spoiler alert, she didn't. Not a tweet, not an Instagram story, not even a cryptic emoji post. Rachel straight up pulled a Houdini and vanished. And here's where it gets juicy. That silence, it didn't calm the storm. It poured gasoline on it. Suddenly, the internet was no longer just laughing at the parody, it was analyzing the silence like it was the missing piece of the Kennedy files. Is Disney gagging her? Is her team hiding under a table somewhere, trying to rebrand her into a Care Bear? Did she just uninstall Instagram and move to a cabin in Montana? The theories were wilder than a Real Housewives reunion. Insiders whispered that the silence wasn't some fierce, Beyoncé-level, "I said what I said" move. No, ma'am. It was more like sheer panic behind closed doors. Allegedly, Rachel was shook, like pacing the floors, ugly crying into a pillow, calling her reps at 3 a.m, shook. Some even claimed she wanted to strike back, post something savage and witty. But every PR person within a 10-mile radius basically sat on her phone and yelled, "Don't you dare!"
No, Prince or a different kind of Prince? I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you? Oh my God. Are you Disney?
Meanwhile, Fox wasn't budging. Disney was looking sideways. And poor Rachel, she was stuck in a PR quicksand made out of her own past interviews. And here's the kicker. When you disappear after a public dragging this big, it doesn't make you look mysterious. It makes you look defeated. Hollywood doesn't love a silent queen. Hollywood loves a fighter, a comeback moment, a mic drop, Silence? It reads like retreat, like waving a little white flag made out of discarded Snow White scripts. And the internet smelled blood in the water, and it was just getting started. While Rachel was off playing hide and seek with the internet, Disney was busy doing what Disney does best when a mess gets too big to mop up. They quietly pretended it never happened. No official statements, no press conferences, just a slow, almost surgical erasure that honestly could have made Thanos proud. First came the vanishing act from promo materials. Insiders say that Rachel's name started getting, how do we put this politely, strategically cropped out of press schedules. Red carpet invites? Canceled. Talk show appearances? Ghosted. Even those behind-the-scenes Disney Plus featurettes that usually star the lead actress, suddenly, it was all Gal Gadot looking fabulous and talking about evil queens while Rachel's footage sat somewhere in a hard drive collecting dust. One Disney insider put it best, she's not touchable right now. And that sounds way creepier than it should, but what they meant was simple. Rachel Zegler had officially entered the no-go zone. At first, fans tried to act like maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe Disney was just really excited about the costume design. But when every trailer, every poster, every soundbite started leaning heavily on literally everything except the girl playing Snow White, yeah, no one was buying it. Not even the popcorn buckets at Disneyland could keep a straight face. And Disney wasn't alone. Word on the street is that major PR firms across Hollywood started updating their survival manuals. How to handle your client, going full Ziegler. There were leaked slides from media training sessions with headlines like, "When authenticity becomes arrogance." And yes, reportedly illustrated with a Simpsons screenshot. Savage. Casting directors, who usually have hearts of stone when it comes to second chances, started slowing their roll too. One Netflix producer allegedly told a showrunner, "We'll circle back once the air clears. She's still radioactive." Yikes. Not even a hazmat suit could save that pitch meeting. Another big YA reboot that had Rachel shortlisted? Quietly. Snip, snip. Off the list. Not because she couldn't act, not because she couldn't sing, but because she now brought something even more feared than bad press. A built-in internet mob just waiting to drag the whole project down before the first trailer even dropped. And honestly, the irony is kinda brutal.
And this bed is just like the first one. Also too hard.
Rachel's problem was never talent. It was vibe. It was narrative. It was the baggage that started building with every headline, every viral TikTok, every "she said what" moment that snowballed into a cultural migraine. Because in Hollywood, perception isn't just reality, it's the entire budget meeting. And right now, Rachel's perception comes with hazard lights blinking. If The Simpsons started the fire, the internet showed up with gasoline and marshmallows. Because once that parody aired, social media didn't just react. It threw a full-blown meme party, and guess who was the guest of honor? Poor Rachel Zegler, who at this point probably wishes she could crawl inside a CGI apple and stay there forever. TikTok users wasted 0 seconds. They took the parody clips and sliced them next to Rachel's real-life Snow White interviews, so seamlessly, you couldn't even tell which version was supposed to be the joke. Honestly, it was chef's kiss editing. You had Rachel saying, "The prince is a stalker" on one side, and on the other, a cartoon Snow White yelling about dismantling patriarchal narratives while woodland creatures visibly rolled their eyes. Oscar-worthy shade, truly, and then came the sound bites. Oh lord, the sound bites. The most viral line, "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead." TikTok dubbed it the final boss of girl bossing, which sounds like a compliment until you realize it's the internet's way of saying, "Congratulations, you are now officially too much." YouTube wasn't far behind. Reaction channels basically cracked open a celebratory bottle of champagne. One viral video called The Simpsons just did what Disney wouldn't, racked up over 3 million views in 2 days. Another edit mashed up Rachel's old interviews with the Simpsons parody and ended it with a fake Oscar montage where she tearfully accepted a Razzie Award while Krusty the Clown slow clapped in the background. Ruthless. Like, not even a tiny bit of chill. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get messier, the internet did what it does best. It dragged old drama out of the attic.
I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Remember that fake AI-generated OnlyFans account that was linked to Rachel months ago and immediately debunked? Yeah, that ugly rumor resurfaced. Because of course it did. Suddenly thousands of people were retweeting and reposting like it was breaking news, completely ignoring the part where it was totally fake. But here's the brutal truth. By then, facts didn't even matter. It wasn't about truth, it was about vibe, about narrative. Rachel had become a symbol for everything fans were sick of: Hollywood arrogance, moral lectures disguised as fairy tales, stars who seemed more interested in scolding audiences than entertaining them. Every post, every silence, every awkward clip. It all just fed the fire. Sympathy? Gone. Not because people were cruel, but because it felt like she never listened, never adapted, never figured out the assignment, and one viral comment summed it up perfectly. The internet doesn't hate Rachel Zegler. It's just done giving her chances. Which, if you ask me, is way scarier than being hated. Because you can come back from hate, but being over, that's the real Hollywood horror story. Not that long ago, Rachel Zegler was the industry's golden girl. Spielberg's chosen one, the future of Hollywood, wrapped in a ball gown and a TikTok account. Studios were literally throwing scripts at her like rice at a wedding. She wasn't just the next big thing, she was the thing, the blueprint, the vibe, the moment. And now, well, let's just say the blueprint's gathering dust somewhere between missed opportunities and what were we thinking? Because after the Simpsons fallout, Rachel didn't just stumble. She practically tripped into the biggest PR sinkhole this side of Johnny Depp's divorce trial. Insiders started whispering faster than a Real Housewives reunion. Suddenly, her name wasn't popping up in casting meetings anymore. One talent agent at a top 3 agency reportedly told a client, "Brace yourself. If you see her name attached, pass. She doesn't bring heat. She brings noise." Ouch. I mean, when Hollywood starts treating you like an expired carton of oat milk, you know it's bad. And it's not even about her talent. Nobody's saying Rachel can't act, sing, dance, and look adorable doing it. That's not the problem. It's the vibe, the narrative, the exhausting cultural baggage that now floats into every room before she even opens her mouth.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Former collaborators? Silent. No dramatic Twitter defenses, no heartfelt Instagram essays about how Rachel is misunderstood. Nada. Just crickets. Which, in Hollywood, is basically the professional version of ghosting you after the first date. And her fan base? Still technically there, but definitely quieter. You know that awkward moment when you hype up your friends? New boyfriend for months, then meet him and realize, yikes? Yeah, that's the vibe now. Loyal but nervous. Hopeful but exhausted. Hanging on by a thread and a prayer emoji. What's wild is Rachel didn't need to be perfect. Nobody wanted her to be some squeaky clean Stepford princess. People just wanted her to seem present, humble, a little self-aware, maybe even a little fun. Instead, it felt like she was lecturing everyone from a castle made of hashtags. And when audiences get tired of feeling scolded, they pack up their popcorn and move on. Now, Rachel's standing at the edge of a very steep cliff. And here's the kicker. One more misstep, one awkward interview, one viral non-apology, one accidental side-eye during a red carpet, and Hollywood may quietly, permanently close the door.
It sounds like you're one of the only ones there, just like Rachel Zegler, as it turns out, and we part with this video of Rachel Zegler alone in a theater watching herself. One of the most unlikable humans
That
ever.
is sadder than when the original Snow White eats the apple.
Because in this town, fame isn't just fragile, it's a house of cards standing on a Jenga tower during an earthquake. While Rachel Zegler was busy pulling a Houdini act, Disney wasn't exactly chillin' in Cinderella's castle either. Oh no! Behind those Mickey Mouse ears, full-blown 5-alarm panic. Because when your 200 million princess movie becomes the internet's favorite roast, it's not just the actors who get singed, it's the whole kingdom. Sources say the meetings inside Disney got real spicy, real fast. One exec allegedly called the Snow White situation a cautionary tale, which, if you speak Hollywood, translates to somebody's about to lose their job. Marketing teams scrambled. Harder than Cinderella's mice trying to finish a ball gown? They started reworking ad campaigns, scrubbing trailers of Rachel's face like it was a bad Yelp review, and pivoting hard toward anything that didn't scream Snow Woke the disaster. Even bigger, rumors are swirling that Disney isn't just worried about Snow White's flop. They're terrified it's a blueprint for what could happen to all their remakes if they keep playing woke but broke. Yep, word on the street is this mess might actually change how Disney handles its entire empire moving forward. And it all started with one actress, one parody, and one internet that absolutely refused to let it go. Apparently, conversations are happening about scaling back the heavy-handed messaging in future projects. Less moral lecturing, more magic, less Twitter activism, more timeless storytelling. One insider even joked, if you can't imagine it being sung by a cartoon animal's sidekick, don't put it in the script.
Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all.
Harsh? Maybe. Effective? Honestly, yes. And get this. Some execs are reportedly pushing for an entire back-to-basics mandate, meaning less rebooting classics into political lectures and more reminding audiences why they fell in love with Disney in the first place. You know, joy, wonder, dwarfs that don't look like rejected Game of Thrones extras. So if you notice future Disney trailers suddenly looking a lot more sparkly and a lot less scoldy, you can probably thank Rachel Zegler's Fallout for that one, because sometimes it only takes one very loud, very awkward flop to make a billion-dollar company remember fairy tales are supposed to feel magical, not like a college lecture, with extra glitter. So while Rachel Zegler's career was getting the "we'll circle back" treatment from Hollywood, her PR meltdown was doing something even bigger. It was changing the rules for everyone else. Like, entire training manuals were getting rewritten because of this one girl's interview clips. Think about that. Somewhere in a Beverly Hills boardroom, a group of well-paid publicists sat down, looked at each other, and said, okay, new rule, don't do A. Zegler. No joke, don't Zegler it has allegedly become actual shorthand in some agencies now. As in, congrats on the role, sweetie. Now here's a list of things you can't say unless you want to tank the box office before opening weekend. Because studios are watching what happened here like it's a Netflix true crime doc. One minute, you're the face of Disney's next billion-dollar fairy tale. The next, you're the punchline in someone's media coaching PowerPoint. And that's the part no one wants to talk about. This wasn't just about Rachel being too online, it was the fallout. Because once The Simpsons took aim and the audience laughed instead of gasped, it was like the industry collectively said, oh no, this can happen to anyone. Now, execs are nervous. They're suddenly not casting just for talent. They're casting for silence.
The movie was absolutely terrible. It's not the single worst movie I've ever seen, but in every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse.
Can she stay off social media? Is now a real question asked in auditions. Is he too opinionated? Is being scribbled in casting notes? Studios are craving low risk, which in plain English means likable, cute, non-threatening, and preferably someone who posts birthday cake pics instead of political hot takes. One Gen Z actress reportedly had her campaign halted mid-launch after someone dug up an old tweet, where she said The Little Mermaid was mid. That's it. And her team still pulled her from the shortlist. Because if Rachel's saga taught Hollywood anything, it's that you can't afford even a whiff of princess blasphemy anymore. So now, up-and-coming stars are being told to keep it sweet, keep it vague. And if you have to be passionate, make it about puppies. Maybe trees, but never ever tell half the country to unfollow you and never know peace. Because turns out voters also buy movie tickets. And when they stop showing up, even a 7-figure smile can't save your fairy tale. So now here we are. One parody, one PR implosion, one colossal studio misread. And Rachel Zegler, who once seemed like Disney's next magical investment, is suddenly Hollywood's most cautionary tale in heels. She isn't canceled, she isn't exiled, she's just awkward, too famous to ignore, too risky to embrace. Like that friend who turns every group dinner into a political TED Talk. You love her, but you're not inviting her to the next brunch. And that's the weirdest part of all this. This isn't the story of a villain. Rachel didn't commit a crime. She didn't get caught in some secret scandal. She just spoke too soon. Too much. With too little awareness of the room she was standing in. She forgot that when you sign on to play Snow White, you're not just taking a role, you're stepping into a cultural institution. And in Disney's world, that means you don't flip the table before dessert's even served. But maybe the bigger twist is how this whole saga might change the company behind the chaos. Because, let's be real, Disney isn't used to L's this big, this loud, this public. Their formula used to be bulletproof. Reboot a classic, slap on some CGI, throw in a pop feminist anthem, and boom, box office gold. But now, that sparkles, looking a little dim. And between Lightyear, The Marvels, and this Snow White wipeout, The message is clear. Audiences are done being lectured in IMAX, and if Disney doesn't start listening, really listening, they're gonna need more than magic to win them back. As for Rachel Zegler, her future's still technically unwritten. Maybe she'll bounce back with a role that fits her voice and her vibe. Maybe she'll reintroduce herself to the public with a little less defiance and a little more heart. Or maybe she'll disappear for a while, wait for the storm to pass, and hope the next big Hollywood meltdown makes everyone forget this one. But here's the catch. The Simpsons doesn't go away. That parody is now part of pop culture canon. It's out there, clipped, shared, memed into eternity. And unless Rachel finds a way to own it, really own it, that cartoon version of her might end up being more famous than the real one. So, what do you think? Is this a much-needed wake-up call for Disney and for stars like Rachel? Or was she unfairly dragged through the digital mud for saying what a lot of Gen Z women actually feel? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you think Hollywood needs a reality check. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're just getting started. The next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.